Gaslighting. It's one of the most insidious weapons in the manipulator's arsenal. But what makes it so powerful? At its core, gaslighting is about control. Not through brute force, not through threats, but through the slow erosion of your reality. The manipulator's goal isn't to win an argument. It's to make you doubt your own mind. Once that seed of doubt is planted, you start questioning your memory, your judgment, even your sanity. Think about it. If someone can convince you that what you saw didn't really happen, or that what you felt was an overreaction, they've gained the ultimate power over you, control over your perception of reality itself. And when you no longer trust your own thoughts, you become dependent on theirs. Why they do it? Manipulators gaslight for three main reasons: power and dominance. By destabilizing your confidence, they place themselves in the driver's seat. You stop arguing. You start obeying. You let them define what's true. Avoiding accountability. Gaslighters never want to be caught red-handed. If they lie, cheat, or betray you, gaslighting becomes their shield. That never happened. You're imagining things. Suddenly you're the problem, not them, keeping you hooked. Gaslighting isn't just about confusion. It's about control over your emotions. One moment you feel guilty, the next you're desperate for their approval. This constant up and down keeps you locked in the cycle. The psychological edge. Here's the dark truth. Gaslighting works because of our natural human instincts. We want to trust the people we care about. We assume they're being honest with us. When they tell us we're wrong, we second-guess ourselves instead of immediately accusing them of manipulation. This is exactly why gaslighters thrive. They exploit kindness, they exploit trust, and they exploit the fact that most people would rather believe they themselves are mistaken than accept that someone close is deliberately trying to break them. A chilling example. Imagine this. You see a text message pop up on your partner's phone late at night. It looks suspicious. When you bring it up, they smirk and say, "Wow, you're really paranoid, aren't you? That's just my coworker. You always blow things out of proportion." Now you're stuck. Maybe you overreacted. Maybe you are being paranoid. That one moment of doubt is all it takes. And if this happens enough, you'll stop trusting your own instincts altogether. And that is the gaslighter's victory. But here's the thing. If you understand why manipulators use this dark tactic, you can begin to see through the smoke before it blinds you. Because the first step to fighting gaslighting is recognizing the purpose behind it. Gaslighting isn't always loud, obvious, or dramatic. In fact, the most dangerous form of gaslighting is quiet. So subtle that you might not even notice it's happening until you're already trapped. The creeping doubt, one of the first signs, is a nagging doubt that creeps into your mind. You start thinking things like, maybe I did remember that wrong. Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe they're right and I'm just too sensitive. Notice the pattern? You're no longer questioning them. You're questioning yourself. That's exactly what the gaslighter wants. Constant minimization. Gaslighters love to downplay your feelings. You tell them you're hurt, and they laugh it off with, "You're too emotional." You always exaggerate. "It wasn't that serious." These phrases may seem harmless at first, but when repeated, they slowly condition you to believe your emotions aren't valid. Rewriting the past. Another subtle tactic is when they rewrite history. You might bring up a past conversation and hear, "That's not what I said at all," or "You're remembering it wrong." And if they say it with enough confidence, you start second-guessing yourself, even when you were absolutely certain, isolating your reality. Gaslighters also create isolation, not always physically, but mentally. They'll say things like, "Nobody else would put up with you. Your friends agree with me. You just don't see it." Suddenly, you feel like the gaslighter is your only anchor to reality. The more you rely on them, the less you rely on your own mind. The pattern of confusion. At the heart of gaslighting is a pattern of confusion. If every conversation leaves you feeling drained, doubting yourself, or scrambling to figure out what's true, chances are you're being gaslit. And here's the chilling part. Manipulators don't need you to fully believe them. They only need you to doubt yourself just enough. Because self-doubt is like a crack in the wall. And once it's there, they can keep widening it until your entire sense of reality collapses. The silent test. Here's a quick self-test. Think of the last time you argued with someone. Did you walk away thinking, they're wrong, and I'm sure of it? Or did you walk away thinking, maybe I'm the one who's crazy? If it's the second one, you might already be caught in a gaslighter's web. And if these subtle signs are left unchecked, they lead to something even darker. Emotional traps that keep you tied to the manipulator, even when you know something feels wrong. If gaslighting was only about twisting facts, it would be easier to spot. But what makes it so dangerous is the way manipulators entangle your emotions. So even when you sense something's wrong, you feel too guilty, too dependent, or too scared to break free. The guilt trap. Gaslighters are masters at flipping the script. You catch them in a lie. And instead of apologizing, they somehow make you feel like the villain. They'll say things like, if you trusted me, you wouldn't even ask that. Wow, I can't believe you'd accuse me of something like that. Suddenly the conversation isn't about their behavior. It's about your supposed lack of trust. And just like that, you feel guilty, even though you were the one who was wronged. The dependence trap. Over time, gaslighters condition you to depend on their version of reality. They chip away at your confidence so much that you stop trusting your own decisions. You start leaning on them to tell you what's right, what's real, and even who you are. It's like psychological quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. The good times trap. Here's another sneaky move. Gaslighters don't manipulate you 24/7. They sprinkle in moments of charm, affection, or kindness. Just when you're about to walk away, they show you a glimpse of the person you wish they were. This creates a cycle of confusion. One day, you're crushed and questioning yourself. The next day, they're sweet and loving again. That cycle keeps you hooked, hoping the good version of them will stick around. Spoiler, it never does. The fear trap. Some gaslighters use intimidation, subtle or direct. Maybe it's a tone of voice that shuts you down. Maybe it's the unspoken threat of losing them, being abandoned, or being judged. Fear keeps you silent, and silence is exactly what they want. Why these traps work. The terrifying part is that these traps work because they're tied to your deepest human needs. The need for love, trust, belonging, and security. Manipulators hijack those needs and twist them into chains, so even when you see the lies, even when your gut screams that something's wrong, your emotions keep you tied to the very person who's breaking you down. And here's the cruelest trap of all. Once you're emotionally entangled, the gaslighter can move on to their deadliest weapon, twisting your reality itself. Gaslighting isn't just about words. It's about reprogramming your reality. And the scariest part? Once someone gets inside your head, they can make you question events that actually happened. Even memories you once swore were crystal clear. The weapon of denial. The most common trick is simple denial. You bring up something they said last week, and they fire back with, I never said that. You're imagining things. Why do you always twist my words? They don't need proof. They just need confidence. And when they repeat their version enough times, it plants doubt in your mind. You start thinking, maybe I did remember wrong. The confusion storm. Gaslighters love to overwhelm you with contradictory statements. One day, they claim one thing. The next day, they claim the exact opposite, yet act like they've always been consistent. It's like being stuck in a fog where nothing feels solid. When reality keeps shifting, you eventually give up trying to hold on to the truth, and instead, you accept their version, reframing your reactions. Gaslighters don't just deny events, they reframe your response to them. If you cry, they'll say, you're hysterical. If you get angry, they'll say, see, this is why nobody takes you seriously. If you stay silent, they'll say, you don't even care. No matter how you react, They twist it into proof that you're the problem. False narratives. Sometimes gaslighters go further and create entirely false stories. They'll recall things that never happened, then insist they did, or they'll accuse you of saying something you never said. Over time, these false narratives can actually replace your own memory. And here's the scary truth. Psychology studies show that human memory is fragile. When someone confidently tells us something happened a certain way, our brains sometimes update our memory to match theirs. That's why gaslighting is so effective. It exploits a natural weakness in the human mind. The end game: control of your mind. When reality itself feels unstable, the gaslighter becomes the only solid ground you can cling to. And that's exactly what they want. For you to abandon your truth and accept theirs. Think of it like hacking a computer, not by breaking the hardware, but by corrupting the software. Gaslighters don't need to change the world around you. They only need to change the way you see it. But here's the twist. Even the strongest, smartest people can fall victim to this manipulation. And that's where we're heading next. Here's a truth most people don't want to admit. Gaslighting doesn't only happen to the weak, the naive, or the inexperienced. In fact, some of the strongest, most intelligent people are the ones who fall the hardest. Why? Because gaslighting doesn't attack your intelligence. It attacks your trust in yourself. The trust factor: smart people often give others the benefit of the doubt. They assume logic and truth will prevail. So when a manipulator confidently denies something, the victim thinks, well, maybe I misunderstood. Surely they wouldn't lie this boldly. That assumption of honesty is exactly what gaslighters weaponize. Emotional intelligence as a weakness. People who are empathetic, those who deeply care about others, are prime targets. Why? Because gaslighters exploit empathy. If you're sensitive to others' feelings, you'll second-guess your own anger, guilt, or suspicion. You'll bend over backwards to understand them, even while they're tearing you down. The illusion of control. Strong personalities are especially vulnerable because they believe they're immune to manipulation. They tell themselves, I'm too smart to be played. But that confidence can actually make them blind to subtle psychological games. By the time they realize something's wrong, the hooks are already deep. Manipulators play the long game. Gaslighting doesn't usually happen in one dramatic moment. It's a slow burn. First, tiny lies, then small doubts, then bigger contradictions. By the time the victim notices the pattern, their sense of self has already been eroded. And even the strongest mind, when attacked over and over, starts to crack. Social pressure. Another reason smart people fall is because gaslighters often manipulate social circles. They might charm your friends, family, or co-workers so that when you speak up, no one believes you. Suddenly, you're isolated, and isolation makes anyone vulnerable. The shame factor. Many victims stay silent because they feel embarrassed. They think, how did I let this happen to me? But here's the truth. Gaslighting works on anyone. Intelligence doesn't protect you from psychological warfare. It just means your manipulator has to work harder. And here's the dark irony. The smarter you are, the better you are at rationalizing the gaslighter's behavior. You come up with excuses for them, logical explanations for their contradictions. But the more you rationalize, the deeper you fall into their web. Gaslighting isn't about intelligence. It's about psychological sabotage. And once the damage sets in, it leaves scars that run deeper than most people realize. Gaslighting isn't just about winning an argument or dodging blame. It leaves behind scars. Scars that cut deeper than most people realize. And even after the manipulator is gone, those wounds can haunt the victim for years. Self-doubt that never leaves. The most common damage is a persistent self-doubt. Victims often second-guess themselves in everyday life. Did I really say that? Am I remembering this wrong? Maybe I'm just overreacting again. This hesitation lingers long after the gaslighter is out of the picture. It's like a voice in your head that constantly whispers, you can't trust yourself. Erosion of identity. Gaslighting chips away at who you are. Your opinions, your feelings, your memories, things that once defined you, become blurry. Victims often describe feeling like a shell of themselves, unsure of what they believe or even who they are. When someone rewrites your reality often enough, you stop being the author of your own story. Anxiety and hypervigilance, gaslighting creates a state of constant alertness. Victims learn to anticipate manipulation before it even happens. They overanalyze words, facial expressions, and even silence. This hyper-awareness can evolve into chronic anxiety, making it hard to relax or trust anyone again. Depression and emotional numbness. The cycle of confusion, guilt, and fear can lead to deep sadness. Some victims become numb, cutting off their emotions as a defense mechanism. But this numbness comes at a cost. When you can't feel the bad, you also stop feeling the good. Loss of trust in others. Perhaps one of the darkest effects is the inability to trust. Once you've been gaslit, every new relationship feels like a potential trap. Victims often ask themselves, what if it happens again? This suspicion can sabotage friendships, romances, even professional connections. Trauma bonding. In severe cases, victims may even develop a twisted attachment to their gaslighter. This is called a trauma bond, where the cycle of abuse and affection creates a powerful emotional tie. It's the reason some people defend or return to their abuser, even when they know they're being harmed. The invisible wounds. What makes gaslighting especially cruel is that the scars are invisible. There are no bruises, no broken bones. On the outside, the victim may look fine, but inside, their mind is fractured, caught between what they felt and what they were told. And here's the chilling truth. Gaslighting doesn't just leave you broken. It makes you vulnerable to more manipulation in the future. Once your reality has been hijacked once, it's easier for another manipulator to step in and continue the cycle. But there is a way to break it, and it often starts with spotting the exact words gaslighters use. The ones that seem harmless, but are actually red flags waving right in your face. Gaslighters don't always need elaborate lies. Often, it's just a few carefully chosen phrases that get under your skin. Words designed to confuse you, shame you, or make you doubt your own sanity. Once you recognize these red flag phrases, you'll start seeing the manipulation for what it really is. You're too sensitive. This is one of their favorites. Whenever you express hurt, they flip it back on you. Instead of addressing what they did, they frame your emotions as the problem. Suddenly, you feel guilty for even feeling. That never happened. A simple denial, yet one of the most powerful tools in gaslighting. It erases the reality you just experienced. The scarier part? If they say it enough times, you might actually start questioning your memory. You're imagining things. This phrase is meant to make you doubt your perception. It's not just about denying facts. It's about making you feel like your entire way of seeing the world is flawed. Everyone agrees with me. Gaslighters love to drag in imaginary witnesses. Whether it's friends, family, or co-workers, they'll claim everyone thinks you're wrong to isolate you and make you feel outnumbered. Even if no one else has said a word, you start to wonder if they're right. You're overreacting. Another classic minimization tactic. By labeling your emotions as too much, they make you shrink back, second guess, and apologize for being upset. Over time, this conditions you to stay silent rather than speak up. I was just joking. A manipulator will often cloak cruelty in humor. If you call them out, they accuse you of not being able to take a joke. This allows them to insult you without accountability and makes you question whether you're being too serious. You're crazy. This is the nuclear option. By outright attacking your sanity, gaslighters strike at the very foundation of your self-trust. Once you start wondering if you are unstable, they have full control over your reality. Why these phrases work in ending? Each of these statements has the same purpose: to shift the blame, confuse your mind, and silence your voice. They're not random. They're deliberate weapons designed to keep you off balance. The moment you hear them, alarms should go off in your head. Because if someone is using these phrases repeatedly, they're not just being difficult, They're trying to rewrite your reality. And the best defense? Learning to spot the gaslighter before they have the chance to dig in deeper. Gaslighting is hardest to fight once you're already deep inside its web. The real power move? Learning to recognize a gaslighter early, before they've had the chance to rewrite your reality. Charm that feels too perfect. Most gaslighters don't walk in waving red flags. In the beginning, they're often overly charming. They'll shower you with praise, attention, and flattery. It feels intoxicating, like you've met someone who truly gets you. But that intensity is a strategy. They're building trust fast, so you'll drop your guard. If someone feels too good to be true, slow down. Real trust takes time. The subtle testing phase. Before full-blown gaslighting begins, manipulators often run small tests. Maybe they deny something minor. I never said we'd meet at 7, I said 8. Or they tease you harshly, then brush it off as just a joke. These little moments are trial balloons. If you accept them without pushback, they know they can push further. Disrespect for boundaries. Another early clue. They subtly ignore your boundaries. Maybe you say you're tired, and they insist you stay longer. Or you tell them a topic makes you uncomfortable, and they bring it up again anyway. Gaslighters thrive on crossing lines. Because once they blur your boundaries, it becomes easier to blur your reality. Patterns of inconsistency. Pay close attention to inconsistencies. Do their stories change depending on who they're talking to? Do their actions contradict their words? Gaslighters are masters of contradiction. But when you spot those cracks early, you can see through the performance. The blame game. Notice how they handle responsibility. Do they ever admit fault? Or do they constantly deflect, spin, or blame others? A person who never takes responsibility is a prime candidate for gaslighting behavior. Listening to your gut. Here's the most powerful tool you have. Your intuition. If something feels off, even if you can't put it into words, that feeling is worth paying attention to. Gaslighters specialize in making you ignore your instincts. Don't give them that advantage. Early exit equals best defense. The longer you stay entangled with a gaslighter, the harder it becomes to escape. That's why early recognition is everything. The moment you see these signs, charm that feels too heavy, denial of small truths, disrespect of boundaries, step back, observe, protect yourself. Because once the manipulation takes root, escaping isn't just hard, it can feel impossible. But here's the good news. Even if you've already been pulled in, there are ways to break free. And the next step is learning how to fight back with strength and clarity. Breaking free from gaslighting isn't just about walking away, it's about rebuilding your power. Manipulators want you confused, doubtful, and silent. Fighting back means doing the opposite. Gaining clarity, setting boundaries, and reclaiming your voice. Step 1. Name it. The first weapon against gaslighting is awareness. Call it what it is. Instead of thinking, maybe I'm overreacting, tell yourself, this is gaslighting. Naming the behavior strips it of its power and reminds you that the problem isn't you, it's them. Step 2. Stop arguing with lies. Gaslighters thrive on dragging you into endless debates. Don't play their game. If someone twists reality, don't waste energy trying to prove yourself. Simply say, we remember it differently, and disengage. Protect your energy instead of feeding their control. Step 3. Keep receipts. Write things down. Save texts, record dates, and conversations if necessary. Documentation is your anchor to reality. When a gaslighter says, that never happened, your records remind you, you're not crazy, they're lying. Step 4. Strengthen your circle. Gaslighters isolate. You fight back by reconnecting. Talk to trusted friends, family, or even a therapist. Outside perspectives bring clarity. When you hear someone else say, no, you're right, that really did happen, it breaks the manipulator's spell. Step 5. Set boundaries without apology. Gaslighters will push every limit you give them. The antidote? Boundaries. Clear, firm, unapologetic. For example, I'm not going to argue about my feelings. If you dismiss me again, I'm leaving this conversation. they'll resist. But every boundary you enforce weakens their grip. Step 6. Detach from the emotional hooks. Remember those emotional traps? Guilt, fear, affection? They only work if you stay hooked. The moment you stop reacting to their manipulation, you start regaining power. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Their chaos only works if you get pulled into it. Step 7. Plan your exit, if needed. In some cases, the only way to fully break free is to cut ties, especially in toxic relationships or workplaces. That doesn't mean storming out unprepared. It means planning. Build support, gather evidence if necessary, and then step away with clarity. Step 8. Rebuild your self-trust. The ultimate act of resistance is trusting yourself again. Start small. Make decisions without second-guessing. Remind yourself, my feelings are valid. My memory matters. My reality is mine to define. Every step strengthens your defenses against future gaslighting. Fighting back, is taking back reality. Here's the truth. Gaslighters want your silence, your doubt, your surrender. The moment you stop feeding them those things, their power begins to collapse. And once you've broken free, the journey doesn't end there. Because after surviving gaslighting, the most important step is healing and rebuilding the mind they tried to break. Escaping gaslighting is a victory. But the real battle comes afterward, reclaiming your mind. The damage it leaves isn't just confusion in the moment. It lingers, shaping how you see yourself and others. Healing means rewriting your story and rebuilding the confidence they tried to erase. Step 1. Reclaim your voice. Gaslighters thrive by silencing you. So the first act of healing is speaking again, honestly, boldly, without apology. Write your thoughts in a journal. Share your story with someone you trust. Every word you speak is a piece of your reality stitched back together. Step 2. Validate your feelings. For so long, you were told your emotions didn't matter. Now, it's time to remind yourself they do. If you feel hurt, acknowledge it. If you feel angry, honor it. Your feelings aren't too much. They're proof that you're human and that your inner compass still works. Step 3. Rebuild self-trust in small steps. Start with small decisions. What do you want to eat today? Which path do you want to take? Every time you make a choice without second-guessing, you strengthen the muscle of self-trust. Slowly, that voice of doubt gets quieter, replaced with confidence. Step 4. Rewrite the narrative. Gaslighters wanted you to see yourself as crazy, too emotional, or weak. Flip the script. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim, recognize your resilience. You survived psychological warfare. That doesn't make you broken. It makes you strong. Step 5. Reconnect with reality anchors. Surround yourself with people, activities, and places that make you feel grounded. Friends who validate you. Hobbies that bring you joy. Spaces where you feel safe. These anchors remind you, reality is still yours to shape. Step 6. Seek healing, not revenge. The temptation after gaslighting is to get even. But true healing isn't about revenge, it's about freedom. The manipulator wants to live rent-free in your mind. Don't give them that luxury. Heal for you, not for them. Step 7. Protect your future self. Once you've rebuilt, set stronger boundaries moving forward. Recognize red flags early. Trust your instincts. You've walked through the fire. Now you know how to spot the smoke before it turns to flames. The final shift. The most powerful revenge against a gaslighter isn't shouting, "You lied," or proving them wrong. It's walking away, whole, strong, and unshakable. It's taking back control of your mind and saying, "My reality is mine again, and no one will ever steal it from me." And that's the ultimate victory.